The New York Islanders' decision on a top prospect just got more complicated. We'll break it all down for you next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey, and we have got a lot to discuss on today's show. We're going to break down what Cal Ritchie did in preseason game number 2 and how that impacts the decisions that have to be made by the Islanders. We'll update the injury and roster situations, the captain being felled short term, and the Islanders announce a new radio broadcast team and way of doing things. We'll break all of that down for you as well. Let's start with Cal Ritchie. And for those of you who watched Tuesday night's not so nice loss, the 6-2 defeat at the hands of the New Jersey Devils in Newark, not a lot of bright spots there. The goaltending, not exactly great. Obviously, Tristan Lennox not going to be in the NHL this year. Marcus Hogberg probably not going to be in the NHL this year, but again, that was just not pretty. The penalty kill was, well, for lack of a nicer way to put it, bad. The Devils end up with 3 power play goals in this game. And, everydayers know we've talked a lot about how important special teams are going to be for this Islanders team this year. And, giving up 3 power play goals in 1 preseason game, not exactly, a great, symbol of things to come. But, and you had Simon Holmstrom and Kyle McLean and Casey Cizikas out there on the ice. It wasn't like they didn't have any of their regular power play guys. And, the offense did not really create a lot of chances as a team. The Islanders had 15 shots on goal, which, again, not enough to win a lot of hockey games, and they didn't win. They didn't even come close. But the bright spots were this. Power play scored twice, including once on a 5-on-3. And, Cal Ritchie, in his Islanders preseason debut, set up the first power play goal with a great pass to Emil Heineman and scored the final goal on the 5-on-3. Cal Ritchie had 4 of the Islanders' 15 shots on goal. He was even. And when you consider that no Islanders player was plus in this game, even is pretty darn good. So the only thing that I think was a little bit of a concern with Cal Ritchie, in the faceoff circle, he won 6 faceoffs and lost 16. That wasn't pretty. But other than that, I think it really was a really fine performance by Ritchie, and that's something that the Islanders definitely needed to see. He was on the line with Holmstrom and Heineman, and, the Devils had most of their players in this game, more NHL players than the Islanders did, but at least Cal Ritchie, he looked good. And here's what Patrick Waugh had to say. It was fun to see because he was playing a lot against Hischier, and I thought he did well. 5-on-5, I never thought he was in trouble except for one shift where we had 2 broken sticks. But other than this, I thought their line did well across their top line, so I was happy to see that. And again, everydayers will remember we talked about Cal Ritchie and what Patrick Waugh had said earlier, that, Ritchie probably is going to start the season in Bridgeport, but it's up to him to prove he belongs. I think he proved it. I really think he is in the process. One game does not, doesn't mean everything in this case. But I think Cal Ritchie should be in the NHL lineup sooner rather than later. And if it was up to me, I would be trading away one of the older veterans who doesn't really fit in as much in order to get Cal Ritchie into the lineup to start this season. I am leaning more and more in that direction every time I see this kid out there on the ice. And the problem is you have a glut at center, because if you go up and down the Islanders lineup at center, you've got Bo Horvat, Matthew Barzal is now back at center, J.G. Pageau, Casey Cizikas, Cal Ritchie, Kyle McLean. There are a lot of guys who can play center for this team. Jonathan Drouin can play center, can also play wing. Same with Mark Gatcomb. But realistically, I want to see the kids, especially a kid who is as ready as Cal Ritchie appears to be, in the lineup sooner rather than later. And I think he will add more juice, more energy, more excitement to the lineup than some of these other players. Now, keep this in mind. I do not want Cal Ritchie to be on the NHL roster and be in the press box most games. If he's not going to play with the big club, don't put him on the roster and have him sit in the press box. That just doesn't make sense. To develop, see, the thing about the Islanders right now, they're in this retool. They're retooling on the fly. They're still paying lip service to, we want to make the playoffs this year. And like I said, their ceiling right now is probably either just making or just missing the playoffs. It's the ceiling hasn't changed in the last 3 to 4 months under Matthew Darche. We are still trying to dig ourselves out of the hole that Lou Lamoriello left this team in, with the trading away of draft picks, the bad contracts, the keeping the group together for too long situation, and those no trade clauses. So we are still working on digging out of that hole. But to me, the long term is more important. The development of Cal Ritchie, the development of Matthew Schaefer. If it means that Matthew Schaefer and Cal Ritchie are better off with another year, whether, Ritchie starts in the AHL or Schaefer ends up back at juniors, I'm okay with that, because the way Matthew Darche is building this team, the bigger concern, the bigger hope is, where are these guys in 2 or 3 years? How do you maximize their potential? But I will say this. If I'm Matthew Darche and I see that Cal Ritchie is ready and Matthew Schaefer is ready, I don't hesitate to try to move some of these guys who are veterans who either don't fit into the long-term plans of the team or who you could get something good in return for, again, speed up that retool, get younger players in exchange for these guys, get picks, prospects. You could even get a guy who could come in and play right away. But as I've said, there is more competition on this roster now than there was in the last 2 or 3 years. And there is a surplus of NHL caliber players. There's not enough high-end NHL talent, but there is a surplus of NHL talent if you count bottom 6 forwards, third pair defensemen, seventh defenseman, that kind of level. You've got more than enough to make your 23-man roster and still have some guys down in the minors who would be good enough to fill in some of those spots. I have no objection if Cal Ritchie continues to play well this preseason and show what he can do in training camp. By all means, give him a roster spot, put him out there. If he makes rookie mistakes, you live with it. The key, in my mind, is the fastest development of this group and these young players. So Cal Ritchie making a statement and making the decision for Patrick Waugh and for Matthew Darche a little bit more difficult, and that's a good thing as far as I can see. All right, we have got a lot more to get to on today's show. We're going to talk a little bit about, well, injuries. We have another injury to report, some roster moves as well. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a defensive forward who finished his career with the Islanders in 1998-99. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We'll talk about him and his impact on the team. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. You like player props? You got them here. Building a same-game parlay to try to win even bigger, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your favorite team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com, check it out today. So, 2 pieces of injury news, and one of them is directly connected to a roster move. Kashan Aitchison, who left Sunday's preseason opener early after taking what looked like a knee-on-knee hit, came back and played on Tuesday, which was really great to see. And again, this was not a good game for the Islanders overall. Aitchison was a -1 in the game. He did not register any penalties, any shots, any hits, any blocks. He had 1 takeaway and 1 giveaway and was on the ice for a little more, almost 18 minutes, 17 minutes, 48 seconds. He was a -1 on a day where the Islanders, like I said, nobody was anything more than even. So the good news is that Kashan Aitchison was healthy enough to return after just the 1 day off and was in the lineup. Alexander Romanov said he's a great guy. He plays the same style as me. He hits hard. He's just young, but a great player. They're all going to be top NHL players, but they're young right now. We didn't get to see any of Aitchison's open ice hits, but we did see a player with a bright future if he can improve certain aspects of his game, such as his skating. And again, that has to take some time. And with all of that going on, the New York Islanders, shortly after the loss to the New Jersey Devils, made an announcement Wednesday that they sent Kashawn Aitchison back to his junior team, the OHL's Barrie Colts. No surprise there. Glad they got him into 2 preseason games. And I like what we've seen from him so far. Again, does he have work to do, as mentioned, on the skating, on knowing when to deliver a hit so he's not taking himself out of position? Yeah, he does. He has work to do. But at the same time, we saw some promise, and thankfully he's healthy. Patrick Waugh was right. He was day-to-day. It was precautionary that he came out of the game. And now Kashawn Aitchison is heading back to juniors, which is where we all knew he was going eventually. The question was when, and it didn't seem like it made a lot of sense to keep him up any longer. Meanwhile, the other piece of injury news, a little less encouraging. Wednesday, the Islanders announced that Anders Lee, the captain, out 1 to 2 weeks with an upper body injury. And most people believe this is kind of precautionary, that it's nothing serious. Lee did play in the preseason opener Sunday against the Flyers, even took part in basically the shootout and played more than 16 minutes. But at the same time, you want him ready for the season opener. And with a 1 to 2 week timeline, the 2 weeks is right around then, right around the season opener. So hopefully, Anders Lee is ready. I'm not concerned about Anders Lee, needing the time. I would rather him be able to play in another couple of preseason games, no doubt. Doesn't look like that's very likely, and that's fine. Really, that's okay. But want to make sure he's ready for the season opener and that this indeed is more precautionary than anything else. And by keeping him out of preseason games and maybe practice for a week or two, you make sure that he is healthy when the games count. If there are setbacks, if there are future issues, we'll let you know. But obviously, the Islanders want their captain ready for the start of the season. Another player who was not in practice Wednesday, Maxim Siplikov. That was due to maintenance. He was skating prior to practice, so does not seem to be anything seriously injury related there. As for the 2 other players who are out of the lineup, Pierre Engvall still not back from his hip surgery, and Semyon Varlamov, no timetable as he's working his way back from last year's knee injury. And again, it looks more and more like we are not going to see Semyon Varlamov anytime soon playing for the New York Islanders. He hasn't played in a game since November, so that's 10 months already, almost 10 full months. And even if he were to resume practicing tomorrow, he's going to need, I would say, at least a week of practice, probably go down to Bridgeport for a conditioning stint. And that's, assuming he rejoins the club at practice tomorrow, which from all indications is not close to happening. So it looks like David Rittich is the front runner as of now to start the season as the Islanders' backup goalie. You've also got Marcus Hogberg there and ready if need be. And we'll see, how this gets handled by the team. I am a big Semyon Varlamov fan. I've liked him even before he joined the New York Islanders. He's been a really good, solid NHL starting goalie. And I think, as everydayers may recall, that the Islanders are better off with him, a healthy Semyon Varlamov, as their backup than either of the other guys who are available. But He's not available right now. We don't know when he'll be available or even if he'll be available. And we'll see how it all ends up playing out over the course of the next weeks, months, however long it takes. But wishing Semyon Varlamov a complete and speedy recovery and hope to see him soon, but not optimistic that that is going to be the case. We've got more to get to on today's show. A lot of fans have been asking in the comments about the Islanders radio broadcasts. Well, we've got an answer for that. We'll talk about that, plus our Islanders birthday of the day and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. I was very upset when I got the news that Chris King, the King and Picker duo, were not coming back. It bothered me. Always been a fan of that duo, Chris King. Just such a big part of the Islanders' culture and fan base, and his love of the team, contagious. But they now have named a new radio play-by-play voice for this season, and it's Alan Furing. And I am a Furing fan. He did a great job at Bridgeport. He did a great job filling in on TV when Brendan had his national television duties to do and there was a conflict. He's going to call about 70 games, most of them solo. There will be some guest analysts, but look, Furing knows the team, loves the team. He's been 9 years at Bridgeport, so he knows the organization very well. And while it is really, really great to hear that Furing is getting a promotion, it does mean that King and Picker not coming back. And, you know, that's just a shame. You have mixed emotions about a situation like that. Chris King been with the organization since 1998. Picker since 2013. And they meant a lot and mean a lot to Islanders fans. So I congratulate, by all means, I congratulate Alan Furing. I wish him good luck, but disappointed at the same time about Kinger and Picker. And the good news is that a lot of fans had written in, commented on YouTube, or DM'd me and gotten in touch with me and basically said, Gil, hey, are they doing radio? Will I even be able to listen to games this year? And the original plan, according to most reports, was, yeah, they're going to simulcast the TV broadcast. Okay, simulcast the TV broadcast. That's imperfect, but better than nothing. So the good news is, radio fans, you will get the opportunity to listen to the games. Now the question becomes, you know, how well Alan Furing does at it. Based on everything I've heard from Bridgeport, he's going to be really good at this, but very disappointed for Picker and Kinger. The other bit of information we get about the Islanders here is that Josh Bailey and Cal Clutterbuck are going to be doing a series of altcasts for the Islanders this year, kind of in the spirit of the Manning cast on Monday Night Football. And they're going to basically have like a talk show format for select nationally televised games. And Bailey said the vision for it is us just hanging out, talking hockey, and talking about different plays. We're excited to give some insight behind each play, the little things that go on during the game, just to give the fans a little more insight. And Cal Clutterbuck basically said it'll just be for somebody who loves the Islanders and has 30 or 40 minutes in the car to listen. It'll be a perfect podcast. So we'll see how that goes. Now, the radio broadcast will still be on 88.7 FM, 103.9 FM, and of course the Islanders and NHL apps and Sirius XM. So that is going to be sort of the way this organization is going forward with radio, with alternate broadcasts and the like. And at least fans will be covered. That, I think, is the bottom line, and we're very happy, certainly, to hear that. And Alan Furin, good luck. We wish you all the best in your new endeavor. Same with Bales and Clutter as they begin their coverage. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And, well, we're a day early, but basically speaking, the 26th will be the 58th birthday of former Islanders center Craig Janney. Janney's a native of Hartford. He was drafted by the Bruins, 13th overall, first round, back in 1986. Spent 2 years at Boston College and made his debut with the with the Bruins late in the 87-88 season. Played for the Blues and the Sharks and the Jets and the Coyotes and the Lightning, and then finished his career with the Islanders in 1998-99, playing 18 games, had a goal, 5 points, 4 penalty minutes, and was a -2 for his career. Craig Janney, 760 NHL games, 188 goals, 751 points, 170 penalty minutes, add 24 goals and 110 points in 120 playoff games, none of those with the Islanders. He was a great assist man, had 82 assists with the Blues in 92-93. Not a big goal scorer, but a very good passer and middle six. Really a second line, could be on the first line in his prime kind of a guy. One of his better games as an Islander, February 4th, 1999, the Islanders visiting the Boston Bruins. Felix Potvin, the goalie for the Islanders, Byron Defoe in between the pipes for Boston. And in this game, the Bruins took a 2-0 lead after one period. The Islanders bounced back and tied it 2-2 on goals by Ted Donato and Claude Lapointe. The Bruins took a 3-2 lead in the second period, and then our Islanders' birthday of the day, Craig Janney pots his 5th goal of the year, the last goal of his NHL career. Trevor Linden and Ted Donato with the assists. Islanders go on to win it 5-4 on a third period goal by Mark Lawrence. But again, that was the final goal of Craig Janney's NHL career. He finished the game with the goal. He was +1. He scored on his only shot, and he was on the ice for 15 minutes and 19 seconds. 37 saves for Felix Potvin in this game, in a wild kind of a game where the Islanders were outshot 41-38. So, a lot of back and forth action in this one. But Craig Janney, he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There is no off season. We're bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter most with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, send us an email to lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and it's always great to talk a little Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. And yeah, I'm live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. Islanders, Rangers tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time at Madison Square Garden. So looking forward to that. And of course, everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We'll have our key takeaways from that game, the latest injury updates, line combinations, anything that's happening with your New York Islanders. We will discuss it on the show tomorrow. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.